I buy in bulk.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty fairly obvious.
All right, so now that we're recording, we're going to do Shadowrun.
Hell yeah. Let's shadow the run. Run the shadows.
Fuck yeah.
We're going to start with the obligatory opening cutscene. Our camera pans through the streets of Tacoma. It's early morning, and the sun is rising over the Cascades, bathing Seattle in a golden glow. It's one of those rare, clear mornings in Seattle. The camera pans up the side of an old concrete building, streaked and stained by decades of Seattle acid rain. Two men are standing on a small ledge looking towards the mountains. One of them is Prokop, the other is Ice. They are each holding a glass of amber liquid in one hand and a cigar in the other. The men are silent until Ice asks, "Do you think it'll work?" Prokop shrugs and raises his glass towards the rising sun. If anyone knows what happened, it will be that bastard George Van Housen. Ice raises his glass as well. What happens if he's still alive? Prokop shrugs again and says, "To rigor mortis." "To the little bastard," Ice responds. Then he grins. "I can't believe you're teaming me up with an elf, a cat, and some talking paracrit, a talking horse. You always were a soft fragger, Prokop, trying to save everyone. Doesn't work, you know." Prokop grins. "Who's talking? If Rigor is still alive, you know exactly what you are going to do." They both drain their glasses. Behind them, the changing angles of the rays illuminate the woman Nadia standing silently behind them. And that's it. So we left off last time with Cecile and Diander stayed at the Samovar, and Boxer and Grace headed back towards Boxer's safe house, only to be warned away by Vicente, who told them that there had been a gun battle and that the safe house was destroyed. So did anybody leave any equipment or gear or other possessions there?
At the Samovar?
At Boxer's safe house.
At Boxer's safe house? Cecile definitely didn't.
Yeah, because Cecile didn't have anything.
Nightingale left everything in her truck like a reasonable person.
Boxer had a whole lot of rations, all of which I'm now going to delete from my character sheet. Let's see how many there are.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There were
5.
200 rations in there, worth 1,000 yen.
200 rations?
I buy in bulk.
Why were they all there? Why
were you
were
trying to outlive the apocalypse?
Yes! Haven't you seen what's outside there?
Haven't you seen what's outside?
Boxer's a prepper.
Boxer is a prepper. You don't fuck with Boxer.
But she's one of those cool preppers and not one of the lame ones that make you want to die when they start talking.
If the ghost dance happens again, Boxer will be ready.
Not anymore. Her rations are gone, but she does have enough ammunition to kill God.
Exactly.
Only
That's
sometimes.
Ghost dance.
Approximately enough ammunition to shoot away a hurricane.
You know that crappy movie with the sharks? Yeah, she's gonna do that.
Sharknado.
Yes, she's gonna do that.
It's that scene with the chainsaw in Sharknado.
So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to contact Prokop and ask him about anonymous banking services in this area.
So what time do you get up?
Cecile, very early, like 5 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, Dinder's already up.
Dinder's already up.
She's just like sitting there with like a notebook out writing.
All right. So when you wake up and call Prokop, you actually, he is actually still awake. So he
Seal does not call Prokop. She messages Prokop. She's very respectful of Prokop's time.
Okay. Well, it turns out he's awake. He was literally just having his nightcap up on the roof.
Interesting.
So he texts you back. And so what were you looking for again?
Anonymous banking services in the Seattle area.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Cecile probably just asked, like, what's a good one? Do they have in-person locations? Can you set that up for me?
He texts you back right away, and he sends you He sends you a contact.
Good. Something to add to the character sheet?
Sure. Let's make up a name real quick. All right. So the name of the contact just comes across as Silas.
But not actually silence, like ...
No, Silas. Silas.
Wait, can you spell that for me again?
Silas.
That?
No, Silas.
Oh, okay. I thought you said silence. I was like, that's a very funny name, so I'm gonna make a joke about it.
Especially for a shadow banker. That would be the perfect name, actually.
I don't say shit to nobody.
Unconfidential is in my name.
You should be aware that these shadow banks do actually have to be like big actual banks. They just have to be shady.
They just have to be shady.
The example in the book is given as the Malaysian Independent Bank.
Shady.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to hook up with Silas and see what what they can tell you.
Okay, that's probably going to be an issue since confirming Cecile's ID would be difficult. But sure, let's give Silas a call. At 5 a.m., probably not standard operating hours.
You have Prokop's token.
Token?
Token.
Token.
Okay.
Token.
As in, like, the banking token or, like, cred stick?
Go to GM. Wait, no, where did I put it? Go to text channels in character.
Boop. The seal. So just pass that along to Silas then.
Right. That's like your.
Okay. Cecile will also text that seal then.
And what are you saying?
Cecile politely types up a message saying that she would like to establish an account at their fine establishment, preferably anonymous.
Okay. And Boxer and Grace, how did you and where did you spend the night?
Would Grace stick with Boxer when she goes to her apartment?
But yeah,
In that
Grace would have wanted to come with Boxer if she could help it, 'cause she doesn't really have anywhere else to go besides maybe like Greg's.
Well, in that case, Grace gets to sleep on the couch. It's a relatively comfy couch, so she's all good.
And what time did they wake up? So we've established that Deander and Cecile are early birds, but it's been a long night for you, long disappointing night for you since you found out your safe house was compromised.
Boxer gets up 6 every day, something that was instilled in her when she was in service. Then I know about Nightingale. If she wakes up earlier, it's possible she could wake up Boxer.
Nightingale rises basically almost all the time with the sun. Even if she can't see the sun. She is, I was gonna say descendant from, but that doesn't exactly make sense for what she is. It's more like she lived among rural farmers for a good bit of her early life. So she wakes up fairly early. I don't know if that would be around the time that Boxer does, because I don't know when the sun would rise in this part of the country at this time of year.
Well, either way, we've established they're all relatively early risers.
Yep, you guys are all up. Cecile is trying to find a means of establishing a shadow account of some sorts. Deandare is taking notes, and you guys are hanging out at the moment, at least in Boxer's apartment. So just, Cecile, you haven't gotten a response yet. So what are you guys doing?
Cecile's pacing very uncomfortably.
I think every now and then Deandare like looks up at Cecile, but then doesn't do anything and like continues writing. It takes like a good 30 minutes before Deandare is willing to say anything.
She'll be pacing for like an hour.
She'll be pacing until she hears something from Silas, apparently.
You're going to wear a hole in the floor.
Perhaps.
Well, since you're waiting for something so nonchalantly, why don't we go grab a soy calf? And Deandare hops up and puts her shoes and clothes on.
I'm
and
not
goes
a
out.
fan of coffee personally, but sure.
Where are you getting coffee in this city?
The store?
I think this is like as we're walking out, right? You know, when I met you, I thought you were some 2-bit poser.
Poser?
Mm-hmm.
In what sense?
I thought that was fairly obvious.
Posing to be what?
I don't know. A rich girl?
Oh,
But
I
now-
assure you, I'm not rich.
I see
At
that you
least
really
not
are
yet.
that girl from the news.
Isn't it? Oh, you heard about that?
Maybe.
I shall be rather annoyed if that's the only thing people recognize me for.
Well, I think most people in the city have heard of you that way and no other way.
Most mages have heard of me a different way.
Well, I'm painfully mundane.
That much is obvious.
Oh, sorry.
Do you
Deandare,
speak with that much tongue to your mother?
I can't. She's dead.
I'm old enough to be hers.
Good for you.
Sorry, Paul. What were you going to say?
Deandare, you, as you're trying to find a place to go get coffee, you find that there's a place called Olga's Tea Room, not too far from your location.
I think like we get out and then Deandare just like tosses the second bike helmet to Cecile.
Well,
You're not going to call
We're
a
not-
grid guide, are you?
we're not seriously taking the death trap.
I'll have you know, I'm an excellent driver.
Fine. Seal's pulling up reviews for the restaurant while they drive.
Yeah, Olga's Tea Room is is known for being a Russian-style tea room that serves imported teas and coffees, with a special emphasis on Russian and Eastern European varieties.
How lovely.
Boxer and Grace, what are you guys getting up to?
Boxer would be preparing breakfast for budget. Probably not be anything especially great.
Hey, Liz.
Yeah?
You've got some static on your end? Oh, it appears to have disappeared.
Oh,
Did
okay.
horse magic to get rid of it.
Horse magic.
Anyway, Nightingale is helping, like a child.
What?
Nightingale would offer to help with breakfast, and I added like a child because I imagine she isn't very familiar with cooking with the ingredients that metahumans use.
Oh man, it's gonna be a lot of soy and stuff. I was gonna say chop up vegetables, and I remembered Boxer can't
Sorry.
afford vegetables.
Your water boils at 150, right?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Your water boils at 150, right?
Right?
That's really
Oh,
stupid, but I like that.
That is very stupid. Did the US adopt Fahrenheit? I mean, not Fahrenheit, Celsius?
They tried.
I mean, did UCAS adopt Celsius and metric?
Yes, Shadowrun is all in metric.
Okay.
And face it, Japanese imperialism didn't have benefits.
Oh my god.
So,
So what do you guys want to do today? You guys want to continue role playing? Do you guys have anything that you want to accomplish today? Do you just want to skip forward until you have to meet the Mr. Johnson, or until Silas calls Cecile back?
We know we're going to meet the Mr. Johnson, right?
Mhm.
I would like to scout out the area where we're supposed to meet him.
The Murdered Mime?
Mm-hmm.
Cecile would probably not accompany you on that. She's not really a stakeout kind of gal.
She just wants to lay down.
Let her sleep. My God.
Let's say she waits in Olga's tea house and lets Deidre do her thing.
Her cop thing. Fucking cop.
Gosh.
Are you guys in communication with the with Boxer and Grace?
Possibly.
I imagine Dean has forgotten to message them at this point.
Oof.
Because we're supposed to meet them at like 6 p.m. for the Mr. Johnson, right?
And I tried pulling up some intel on ICE.
All right,
Do a
so
little
you're going to do
background check.
some matrix searching on ICE,
Mm-hmm. Let me just...
and Deandir is going to go scout the area of the Murdered Mime.
I think that's the plan.
And Grace and Boxer, what are you guys up to?
Oh God, no, honey, don't. Not ice. Not that ice. Anyway,
That's a great
Boxer's
question.
going to do a gear check on herself, and if Nightingale were letter, Nightingale stuff.
Nightingale's okay. Yeah, you can poke my stuff.
If you want, she can watch, and she will explain it because she is enthusiastic about this kind of
Yes,
thing.
she has many questions about firearms. And
I didn't
not just
try.
firearms, but equipment in general. All of it.
All right, so Cecile, you launch into your search for ICE. How exactly are you going to do it? Right now, you know him as ICE. Did you take a picture of him?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think Cecile would be so rude as to take pictures of, her employer's associate during a meeting.
Yeah, you didn't pull out your comm and just take a picture.
No.
And you weren't wearing goggles or glasses that had the capability to do so.
Mm-mm.
And as you are logging into your comm, you see that there's a notification. There's a period of time that aligns with the time that you spent in the samovar in which you did not have matrix access. You didn't even realize it because you were busy conversing with Procop, but it turns out that there was probably some heavy-duty Wi-Fi jamming going on in that vicinity.
Understandable. In that case... Detective time. Cecile would
boy.
probably try to locate ICE through by trying to find a connection to Procop, or trying to find rumors about comings and goings through Samovar, like nearby street cameras or something. Although she can't hack those yet, so it'd have to be surveillance or something.
Okay.
Any surveillance geotagged for that specific area she'd be looking through.
Okay. All right, Deandir, you set off on your motorcycle. It's let's say it's about 8 a.m. at this point, and downtown Tacoma is pretty busy. It's got the docks. It's a very blue collar place, but you've also got most of the megas have moved in and started buying up real estate. So there's a lot of traffic of all sorts, commercial and private. And the Murdered Mime is all the way up in Renton, so it's going to be a good 40-minute drive there. So,
see, I don't think Brown Dog does anything in Renton, so I'm not going to bother him, especially at this hour.
Brown Dog's pretty small time too.
Yeah.
Although at this point he'd probably be ecstatic if you called him because he really wants to get in on this action.
He's not allowed.
He doesn't have clearance.
This is a federal operation now.
This is a federal operation now.
This is an FBI jurisdiction.
Yep. So Deandir's driving, Cecile's matrix searching, Boxer's doing a gear check. About 40 minutes later, Deandir's pulling into the area where of the Murdered Mime. It's apparently quite a fashionable area, Renton. Lots of apartment communities, gated apartment places, pretty hip, pretty wealthy looking type stuff. The Murdered Mime, as you go by it on the street, looks like it's actually just now starting to disgorge like its last revelers of the night. Party people of all stripes and colors, shapes and sizes. The building itself is done up in just black and white in not very imaginative reference to the name. So yeah, it looks like a fairly popular club here in Renton. There's security at the door. Doesn't seem to pay you any mind. Give me a perception check.
Perception?
Yep.
Let's see. No modifiers?
No, just
Yep. 1.
okay. You notice that right across the street is another establishment called the Italiano, and there's a bunch of couple of security people around it too, and so looks like this is sort of a happening kind of area. Are you looking for anything specific as you're driving around the area?
I think she's just trying to get like a layout of the blocks, like locally in her brain.
Okay.
Like what's a good place for her to park her bike that would be easy to get to, and the event that they would need to get away quickly and would be safe enough where she could like start her bike and stuff while it was while being in a good place for cover.
It
I think
looks like
she's-
there's valet parking if you wanted to go that route. There's on-street parking in the area and alleyways, and it looks like there's even like a public parking garage right around the corner.
And then the next thing that she would do is probably like attempt to walk all the way around the Murdered Mime, like from one corner, like all the way around the back of it.
Okay. Yeah, there's an alleyway around it, and then there's a sort of a back alley that's a little bit of a larger alley that has access for delivery trucks and stuff like that. There's also that's where the service entrances are. The Murdered Mime seems to occupy the lower quarter of the larger building that looks like it has some fairly upscale storefronts on the other lower quarter, and then the upper half looks like it might be fairly high-end residential type units. There's an entrance that has 2 uniformed doormen and cameras. So it looks like a fairly high-end, highly secure, well, not highly secured, but for a residential area, secure kind of location.
I think the last 2 things she'd try to do is like get not a perfect layout, but like a good enough layout of the like interior of the Murdered Mime, like where rooms and doors and stuff are. And then she'd try to interact with some of the staff, I guess, and just like see what business is like.
Well, you can't get in. So unless you want to try and infiltrate, the service entrances are closed and have camera surveillance. The front entrance has the security guards, the night, the bouncers and the guys sort of keeping, making sure there aren't any fights and undesirables aren't getting in. So you could interact with them if you wanted.
I think Deandere would try to interact with the bouncers.
Okay. They're as you approach, they look like well, give me a quick perception check again. I want to give everything away.
Another one?
Yeah, looks like sort of your standard lot of private security bouncers. They're dressed in relatively fashionable, high-end nightwear, and are of a variety of metahuman types, including the obvious orc muscle and elven face type people. So you approach, and one of the elves steps towards you with a pretty neutral expression on his face, and his hand just sort of barely held up as if to say no entrance were closed.
I think she just like as soon as the hand comes up, she just stops, and then she just starts talking.
Okay, you're about 6 feet from the.
She's talking in Sprethiel.
Okay, As you start talking in Sporethial, he grins and he just sort of mimes like the no habla kind of look at you.
Oh, there is a very 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 derogatory term in Spirithiel for an elf who cannot speak Spirithiel. She just says it straight up and goes back to talking in English.
Whoa.
Okay.
Slurs, gosh.
Just
Um,
casually dropping slurs, my favorite thing.
Give me an etiquette test.
Etiquette. I am not good. I am defaulting on that one, I think. Let me make sure.
Fun fact, I cannot speak a lot of, well, any of some Asian languages, but I know enough to know the slurs.
That's what Diender's about to find out.
Okay, I get a +3 from glamour, but I don't get anything else, and it's defaulting. So
Um,
3. Oh, wrong thing. It's a charisma skill, and it's 3. 2.
All right. Yeah, you see a sudden sort of a very brief but sort of narrowing of his eyes at the expression, but he maintains his professional demeanor as you continue speaking to him in English.
I think she's just like she starts bombarding him with just like normal questions, like, "Oh, I'm not from around here. I'm coming to visit my brother. He. I was wondering if there was anything anywhere good to eat around."
Do you have any
Just
city
has to
speak
be.
skill?
Oof.
City speak, so that would be like a knowledge skill.
Hmm.
I have a Portland area knowledge, but I don't have one for Seattle.
All right. So he responds to you in sort of a pidgin that you catch some words of. It sounds like it's a bit of Japanese, a bit of
Oh,
English, a bit of Orzet maybe, but
if she hears
nothing.
Japanese, she's just gonna start talking in Japanese.
He just keeps talking to you in city speak.
Oh.
But then he relents and says in English, well, we're closed. The last of the our patrons are leaving, but you're of course welcome to come back tonight. We open at 8 p.m.
Well, what about the other things in the area? Surely you know something around here. What would you
He
recommend?
he glances over at the establishment across the street and he says, well, there's always the Italiano over there, but they are closing at this time as well. But I personally am not from this area.
Well, thank you very much for your help anyways. I think she like ends up walking around the street for a bit trying to find just any place that is going to stay open.
All right,
Like
so it's about 9 a.m. right now. So this is the point where most of the retail stuff in the area is starting to open up. So there's there's people are starting to come out on the streets. The retail stores are opening, but most of the restaurants are closed except for maybe you find a cafe or a diner that's open if that's what you're looking for.
does it have line of sight on the mime?
No.
Okay, it doesn't help me. Does the mime here? I was assuming something about the mime, but I didn't ask. Does the mime have like a glass front, or is it like can you see into the mime from the outside?
No.
Okay, doesn't help me.
No, it's basically the Mimes just is a nightclub, so everything is solid so that the lights aren't spilling out or in.
Yeah, there's like it's not a light lock in it, but it's like there's some light spilling out because you can't perfectly do that. It's just like it's black glass, right? Or like is it just bricked up in the front?
It's just bricked up. It's actually not even bricked up. It's white marble with black marble trim. They're really playing heavily on the whole mime black and white kind of thing.
Well, I think at this point I have exhausted a certain amount of my is the door to the Murdered Mime glass, or is it like a wooden door or something?
It does appear to be glass actually,
Okay.
but you can't see in from there.
Oh, I have something that that I thought I bought from Spy Gear, but let me check and look in the book and see if it does
All
what
right.
I think it does.
While you're doing that, around 9 a.m., what are Boxer and Grace up to? You guys done with your gear check?
Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine Grace has Boxer search for a lot of her burning questions on the matrix that she hasn't been able to actually do herself.
Mhm.
I can't imagine what those would be right now, but yeah. But at a certain point, they're definitely going to be free. Grace doesn't have anything on her mind that she feels she needs to do today. Honestly, she thinks maybe laying low would be a bit of a good idea. They don't have any business besides the job they have to do tonight.
Grace is feeling a little paranoid.
Yeah, a little.
Mhm.
But why?
What? It could be because Shadowrunners were sent after her. You know. I mean, she doesn't know, no, it was her that they were after, but obviously the Sacra Evo for Cecile, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So Grace is feeling paranoid. How's Boxer feeling right now about the situation?
She is, so we say, rather unhappy.
And why is that?
Well, her safe house is gone. That shit costs money, and she's feeling it now. She had to pull everything out of her account, stick it on a cred stick. So she's feeling the economics. She wants to escape from that, which means she's diving headfirst into her favorite addiction.
Yeah, and I guess probably she might be a little irritated too because she got told pretty bluntly last night that she wasn't going to get paid for rescuing Cecile.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can imagine that Boxer might be feeling a little bit, not necessarily happy, but energized by the sense of maybe being back in action a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. That's exactly why she was doing the games. That's why she's so hard in it. It's the coping mechanism. So being able to be back in the game. Yeah.
All right. So let's cut back to Cecile then. You do find a couple of things actually on ice. So as you've been searching and sifting, you realize that when you did your sort of in-depth dive on Prokop, you did some of the stuff that you caught and hadn't, weren't really paying attention to because it wasn't pertinent at the time, mentioned ice as well. So it turns out that ice was a known Shadowrunner in the mid to late 2050s in the Seattle area, and is known to have been one of the Shadowrunners who was on the team that ended up on the disastrous run that caused Prokop to go into hiding for about 5 years.
Okay. Okay. So he's an old man.
Yeah, you don't know much about him. I mean, there's not a lot of detail anymore. So much information from that period was lost in the crash. More recently, what you do find as you're, looking at public surveillance footage in and around Tacoma, and especially in the area of the of Samovar, is only very recently. As recently as 3 days ago was the first footage that you find in which you clearly see Ice and Prokop actually entering Samovar, and then after that you see him at regular intervals leaving and re-entering Samovar, but not with Prokop anymore. You only see him leaving and entering on his own.
Okay. That's good.
In fact,
No.
you realize as you're looking at the security footage, it almost appears as if Prokop never leaves the place.
Interesting. Okay. Can I use those images I got from the security to just widen my search, just look for their picture in the Matrix through surveillance and stuff? See if I can
Yep.
pick up on any disparate places that they've been.
Yep. You search rather extensively, and you're not running any special programs or algorithms that might help correlate some data. It's literally just you searching and trying to pick the
Other than her integrated browse program, which probably has a lot of those, and that's how she's doing the skill and stuff. It's not like she has an agent or anything.
Okay. We don't need to roll on this. You've got plenty of time and the skill to to find what's out there.
Mhm.
You think you may have a hit, and it's obvious that the person that you know as Ice has spent the last 20 years or so making a very hard effort to not show up anywhere.
Understandable.
The only thing that you find is a flight suborbital from Boston to Seattle, and you find that Prokop and Ice were on the flight from Boston to Seattle 4 days ago. And then you do a little backtracking and you see that Prokop had flown from Seattle to Boston the day before that. But other than that, the only other thing that you really find that might be Ice and might have a relationship to Ice is a article about, or written by actually let's call it a research paper, written by a parazoologist who briefly mentions a paracritter hunter that they had employed whose description somewhat matches Ice's.
Interesting.
And the parazoologist is writing about the paper is about the rather inordinate density of paracritters in the Newfoundland area of Canada, of the
Interesting.
UK.
Cecile goes ahead and saves that paper for reading later.
Yeah, it looks like a rather interesting paper, and like the description of Ice is there, and it just sort of mentions how that they had hired this person as a local guide, and the fact that he was locally renowned as a hunter of paracritters.
Cool. Okay. I think that's as much as I'm really gonna get at the moment, without having more information to pull at.
It's pretty good, anyways.
Yeah, I'll let some time pass so other people can do stuff.
Yeah. What are other people doing?
How much time has passed?
It's getting late in the morning, and it's really up to you guys. We don't have to play through, the whole day. If you guys say, well, we're pretty much just going to lay low and, eat and wait for that time to roll around. One thing I am curious about, guys, though, is you haven't really mentioned that you guys are all sort of on your own. Is the team going to do any planning together?
All right. I'm going to take initiative. I think Nightingale would first message Miss Magnumfoot and say just say good morning. Hi. I think that I may have some not good people interested in me in Seattle. I'm probably not going to be coming home for a good while. When I do, I'm going to make sure I don't bring trouble to Pines. I don't know when next I'm going to see you or anyone, but be safe, Heart. And then let me go read the text chat thing that you posted. Where is it? In character.
Miss Magnumfoot texts you back. You know from personal experience, Grace, that this kind of morning that you're having in January, where it's not raining and the air is clear and the sun is coming up, is probably one of those prime Miss Magnumfoots where she's out and about enjoying the weather, taking in the smells. She's probably up on one of the grassy hills rolling around. So she's out and about enjoying this. You can just picture it in your mind because you've accompanied her on some of these jaunts when walkabout in the forest and fields around. And sure enough, in a couple of minutes after you send the message, you get a message back to the effect that, thank you for letting me know. We were wondering where you were, and be safe. And if you need anything, let us know. Followed, of course, by a tree emoji.
Nightingale sends the tree emoji back, and she says, "I'll be sure to. Thank you." We're like all lowercase, no punctuation. She still doesn't know what the tree emoji means.
Well, Miss Magnumfoot likes trees.
That makes sense. How exactly does a boxer game? I'm curious. Like, so is it just like she lays down and then she's just you don't see anything of her? It's
I
just
imagine
she,
it's like Sword Art Online.
Yeah, pretty much. Full VR.
All
Full
that goes
bed.
on.
there's no like screen that one could look at.
I mean, if you ask before she gets on,
Hmm.
Is it a lot of shooting?
it's Milsim, so sometimes.
A lot of walking, some shooting.
It's Milsim. It's a lot of walking, a lot of sitting, a lot of driving.
A lot of like hurrying up to wait is what it is.
Forget if she has the thingy.
Well, because it's hot sim, right? So it would be able to move faster than real time.
Hot sim is illegal.
Oh. Wait, what the fuck is hot sim?
Hot
What's the
is
difference between cold and
risking
hot?
actual damage to your self, whereas cold is just like stun.
Although recently, Cold Sim is pretty good. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They
Huh.
specifically state that it's a little bit like pushing the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Hot sim may be legal, but I would imagine that most gamers have at least tweaked themselves really close to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
She,
and
I mean,
really
you
serious
need-
like movie
Yeah.
watchers.
You've got to have those last, 10,000ths of a second to be competitive.
oh yeah. But if you were a fly on the wall or inside the game as is, there would be a lot of sitting around, walking, some shooting, some pretty in-depth medical stuff, first aid.
Hmm.
All right, so at this
Well-
point, you guys are basically just killing time until the meet.
I was gonna message the group via comlink while probably while sitting at the foot of Boxer's bed where she has her little Sword Art Online helmet on.
You get her to
She's
stream
going
it.
to- Mm. I mean, she may have asked for it, but at a certain point, it's going to get boring. So she's going to text the rest of the group and say, "Do plan have?"
I think at this point, Deandra would have like given up trying to just watch the place and is just like sitting on her bike, playing on her comlink.
Comlink moment.
Uh,
Comlink moment. But do
what is
plan
it?
have?
She probably like immediately texts you back. I imagine we'll go in, and if things go bad, we'll bust our way out. I think then she just like sends a picture of the place. She just like Norm girl, figure out what this is. Figure out any deets on this place.
Looking at it, how far is the Murdered Mime from Boxer's apartment?
Boxer's apartment is in Auburn, so she's probably about 30 minutes at the most.
30 minutes. 30 minutes in the meat. Nightingale's gonna actually project. She wants to at least go look at the place. Go fly over there, look at the place, and then probably go right back to her body. Unless something catches her attention.
Are you
Would
going
they
to
have
be able
magical
to find it?
security? If she knows the rough direction and like nearby landmarks, she should be able to.
Do you have a Seattle knowledge skill?
I should. Hold on. Let me check my my chummer. Or well, let me just check this.
Yummer. Sorry.
Because otherwise, I'd be inclined to
Knowledge.
say you
Area
probably.
knowledge. Seattle. You want me to roll?
I do want you to roll. This is a
Okay.
rollable offense.
No. No modifiers.
No modifiers.
6.
Damn.
I plead the fifth.
Said the sixth.
No.
Wait, which one is the 6th again?
I don't know. It was a very, very bad dad joke. Because you rolled a 6.
Right to a trial.
I see that. Wait, does that mean
Did you
that
just look that up, Veronica?
Yes.
not incriminate also
Damn.
before the right to a trial? That's weird. That seems kind of like the other way around, you know? Anyway,
Well, if you don't incriminate yourself, you won't need it. So yes, you enter the astral as your companion and maybe friend Boxer has appeared to sunk into her electronic world and zip off through the streets of Auburn towards Renton. Yeah, I guess astrally, as you're traveling in the astral, you're sort of flying. Are you flying as just basically passing through buildings and?
She wouldn't pass through buildings. It would be too easy to bonk into a mana barrier like that.
Yeah.
And also to be spotted by like a watcher spirit or something. She's flying over the city and looking down, like from a bird's eye view. Even if someone like that was astrally perceiving at the time looked up and noticed her, she's just like a random fucking spirit fucking around. Okay.
So you're always flying over the city like this in astral is always a bit of an awe-inspiring experience for you. Just looking down at this sort of teeming mass of astral signatures and textures, over this sort of gray backdrop of the
I just realized
stuff. But obviously, it takes you virtually no time as you register that. You're pretty much there in Renton, and you even actually make is astral perception a thing? Yes, it is. Astral perception check.
Well, actually, I looked it up. Perception is used is used generally for perceiving your surroundings and noticing things. A sensing is used for understanding things in the astral, if that makes sense. If that if it helps you to
Go
know
with the
which
first one.
perception. Okay.
Yep.
Perception. Where are you? Do I not have it? Guess I don't.
How do you not have astral perception?
No, I have a sensing. I just don't have the actual skill perception, I think. Let me double check before I call that, though.
Is it just a default then?
Yep, I'm going to have to default. It's so unfortunate. Here I go. Default, attribute, no modifiers, 0.
All right, so you find the murdered mime through your knowledge of Seattle and the streets and the location. And so now what are you doing?
I want to see if it has any kind of magical security, first and foremost.
Medical?
Magical.
It does not appear so, at least not at the moment.
I duck in there and check.
What was the difference between astral perception and astral sensing?
Perception and a sensing. Perception is used just to notice things in general and all that sort of stuff. A sensing is used to understand specifically astral things. So like say if you were trying to notice someone sitting in a field while astrally perceiving, you wouldn't use a sensing, you would use perception, but you would use a sensing to determine if they're malicious.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, you can you perceive that there are several people standing around the front door. None of them seem to be astrally active, although at least one of them appears to have some form of be somehow awakened, but not observing in the astral, not observing you. And there's no barriers or wards in the area right now. So if you wanted to enter through the front door or through the wall, you...
Yeah, I want to enter through the wall and just look at everyone here. Confirm that there's no other mages, I suppose. Well, actually, I guess I would make a sensing test. Is that person that I noticed a mage, specifically?
Yeah, why don't you make a sensing test?
Okay. No modifiers, right?
No. They are not a mage. They're probably an adept.
Yes, a meat mage.
They're a meat mage.
Meat mage! Job's done.
Meet the meat mage.
Don't meet the meat mage.
But yeah. She wants to go look around in the actual cafe. If there's any spirits just vibing, maybe say hi to them. Ask them if they've seen anything, but otherwise, just poking around.
Inside the murdered mime?
Mm-hmm. Are there any intense astral signatures that she notices, or other awakened individuals, or even, as I said, just spirits, just kind of free floating?
Inside the murdered mime, no. There are very few people in the murdered mime at this time of day. It looks like
closed.
mostly just people cleaning, prepping, setting things up for the night. It's also, there's a lot of technology and stuff in here, so there's a lot of just sort of dull, very boring and uninteresting stuff in here that isn't really registering on the astral. You don't see any. Well, make another sensing test in here to see if there are signatures or other.
3.
Nice. There is the astral aftermath, let's say, of a massive party in here, with all of the highs and lows that come with that. The happiness, the pleasure, the jealousy, the anger, all that kind of stuff.
When
is
she,
just,
whenever she comes down from like the roof while she's looking at this, and one of her hooves lands on the floor, she immediately bounces up, almost like a cartoon cat, and she gives a little shake of her hoof, sloshing away a unpleasant looking slimy miasma of intoxication.
Yeah, the whole you can imagine. I guess since we're talking about it, you can imagine what kind of astral signature here after a night of
Terrible. Gross.
absolute party and debauchery.
Gross.
Certainly, certainly, a lot of people were magically active in here, but not in any kind of sense other than just people, human people doing
Just
people.
mundanes leaving their signatures all over everything.
Yep.
All right.
You do with 3 hits. You catch. You're exploring a little bit, right? I'm just imagining.
It's just kind of floating around the halls and stuff, poking my head in the stuff.
You're getting more towards the back areas. It appears that the club has some back rooms and some upper rooms. In some of them, you get signatures that have more to do with anger and fear and despair, and you also get some sense that there's some things going on in back here and in the upper rooms and in some of these areas. There are some bad people that are here, and bad things have happened up there.
The back rooms.
But I presume those. How old are those signatures?
They're fresh.
Oh.
Yeah, I imagine that whatever the shaking of the hoof reaction has been magnified 10 times in these areas.
I'm imagining that those emotions, and I presume there's also some dripping of malice too, or at least like a very inhumane apathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's
despair,
she
fear,
probably
anger.
puke if she had a stomach with which to puke, if that makes sense.
Yep. You feel astrally nauseous.
He's gonna go at that point. He's gonna go. Just up through the roof, back up across Seattle. Just flying for a little while, going back in the vague direction of Boxer's apartment.
Okay, enjoying the astral sunshine.
Yeah, and the literal astral sunshine, yes. And also appreciating the vastness of Seattle. I imagine it's actually like bigger than the Gilded City. That is to say, the capital of Equestria, because it's a modern city with millions of people.
It's huge.
Like and there's all like squished together. Like whenever you're this high up, it's like a painting on the night sky.
And with all the astral stuff going on, I mean, you're catching not just this sort of the mundane view of it, which is probably pretty beautiful this morning anyways, you're catching the astral glow of the city. I can imagine that the whole city sort of glows with its own astral signature.
Mm-hmm. It's very particular. It's different from the countryside. And it has a sort of like, just with the sheer mass of thinking life, it's almost like a living thing unto itself, kind of like a hive. But
give me another. You don't have perception. What a bummer.
I could just default. I have intuition.
Yeah,
really high intuition.
Give us a default roll then.
Modifiers?
No. Arg.
Okay then.
You blithely go on your way.
She goes home, back to her body.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to you, off in the distance, you see the astral signature of a dragon in the mountains.
Ooh.
This is one of the last time that this is canonically one of the last times that Hestaby was ever seen.
Oh wow.
That's really sad that I rolled poorly there. It would have been
It
cool.
is.
Okay. Gonna go fly home, go back in my stupid body. God, can't talk to dragons. Alright, yeah. But that's her trip.
Cecile, you got Diander's message on doing a search on the mime.
Did I?
Diander, you had asked Cecile to do.
Yeah, I sent. We have like a group chat, I guess, at this point. I don't know how Nightingale would have sent a message to everybody without either setting a group chat up or sending it not to like everyone individually.
Sure,
So,
makes sense to me.
I think all Diander said was, "Norm girl, please search this up."
You want me to do a matrix search on the mime?
Isn't that what I said?
Okay, sure. I guess I'll do a matrix search on the mime, specifically looking for like ownership, reviews, goings-ons.
All right. The mime is very easy to find on the Matrix. Obviously, it has its own Matrix location, and it's actually its own Matrix, VR entrance and club. I don't know if you're going there or going into it at all, but you know that exists. And
I don't
of
imagine
course,
Cecile would go there in the Matrix yet.
Yep. So that's a possibility for you. You find multitudinous reviews on all of the local city papers. The Murdered Mime is one of Renton's hottest night spots and features lots of up and coming local musical acts. It's got it's known for its massive dance floor and its wide and deep menu. It's sort of one of the places to go if you consider yourself anybody in the area and or want to be seen by anybody in the area. It's just that kind of place. You do, as you dive a little bit deeper, you also find traces that it is probably a Yakuza front. The Yakuza are rumored to operate the mime and operate some small-time vice out of the mime and use it as a training ground for some of their younger, fresher recruits.
I send that over to Deandra.
I think Deandra just like in the most boomer way possible sends like a laughing till crying emoji.
Oh,
Is that a
Is this in
call
the
out
group
post?
chat?
What? Yeah, because that's what my dad does all the time.
kind of adorable.
Veronica's like, thank goodness she wasn't talking about me.
All right. So, anything else before the meet?
I think Nightingale's going to inform them of what she saw.
Can I do, like, before the meet, can Cecile do a search on the female associate of Prokop? I've forgotten her name.
Nadia.
There was
Nadia.
Nadia and there was Talia.
Ooh, two of them.
Nadia was the smaller, older one who led you back into the samovar, and Talia was the woman standing behind Prokop.
Cecile's a little bit more interested in Talia right now. You can send that over to me at some point. It's not pressing enough to hold up the story for it.
Okay.
I think Diander probably drove back to where Cecile is, and then like sat and tried to get in contact with one of her contacts from Portland. What is it? What's his name? Rory Callum, the librarian in Carcier.
Okay.
I think she would probably ask him if there's anything on like paracritters that are horses that can speak, and that he can get back to me at any point on that.
All right. So you both have a request out there. And what I will do is I will get back to you probably on the in-character text board.
Okay.
Sure. In that case, Cecile's just going to message the group chat like, so we need to go pick up ice.
Do we?
Yes, we have to go pick up ice first.
Ice? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I can
Ice
repeat.
will be accompanying us.
He'll be accompanying us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'll post a picture of ice cubes.
Did you get his contact information?
Uh-oh. You're breaking up, Dinder.
Did we get how bad I'm breaking up? It's pretty bad. It's
Can the rest of you guys hear Dinder okay?
No, it's breaking up.
gotta love that internet. What is going on? I am the only person in this house on this internet.
But not in your neighborhood.
That's correct. And I'm not using only one device, so
It could
let's see.
also be.
Is it
Oh, it's better.
okay? Did we ever get Ice's contact
No.
information?
No.
However, in the in-character chat, there is a pin at Ice's location.
Is there?
Yes. You will need to pick up internal combustion engine at this location. Pin. Glad that got one laugh.
I think Cecile would probably offer to the group, not Cecile, sorry. Diandera would probably offer that she can pick up Ice on the bike if someone would come and get Cecile.
Seal could take a taxi.
Yeah, you could take a grid guide
At risk being looked upon disdainfully by everyone with a car.
with a vehicle. The three of us that have a vehicle.
Seal could probably also take public transit, because apparently even in a cyber dystopia, public transit continues to exist in Seattle.
And is also better than modern America.
Maybe we're the real dystopia.
Your wage slaves have to get to work somehow. You're not paying them enough to get a car, so.
That's not true. It could be like the British railway system. Yeah,
Great.
Cecile will probably just take a bus or something.
All right, so Diender's going to go pick up Prokop. How are you guys planning to get there? Not by what conveyance, but are you getting there early, or how are you working it?
I think Diandera is attempting to get there early, but as previously stated, she is picking up Ice, which throws a wrench into her get there early plans.
Yep, and you have no way of contacting Ice.
So she's definitely like at the pen, kind of passive aggressively playing on her
Ice is
comlink.
already there.
I'd say she's idling the engine, but it's an electric vehicle.
Yeah, Ice is already there, and the there is a pawn shop, sort of old dusty pawn shop, and he is standing in the doorway, sort of pretending to be nonchalant, but not really pulling it off, wearing clothes that fit him quite well and are modern evening wear, club wear clothes, but look completely out of place on him.
I think Diandera like pulls up, looks him up and down, and he goes, "Nice hunt, Norm boy."
He grins sort of mirthlessly and looks at you and he says, "So they sent you, huh?"
Well, I volunteered actually.
Well, that was nice of you.
Well,
I gotta say one thing. I do appreciate your being here early.
we
There
better
might be
get
hope
going
for
if
you
we still
after
want to
all.
be there early.
Yep, he climbs on the back and puts on the helmet, which you're not sure how well it fits him. He's got a bit of a big head.
The helmets are wide to like accompany big ears.
Okay.
So I imagine they fit incredibly poorly on Norm's.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a big head, so
Actually, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Does Ice recognize Diandra as a dryad?
probably not.
But
Probably considers her an elf with
Okay.
augmentation to make her look the way she does.
okay,
He
I
isn't
was just curious.
super sophisticated in those.
So he hasn't seen a picture of Diandra through a camera yet.
No, he
Okay.
is not augmented in that way.
Okay.
Oh, actually, that's a good point. That means that Boxer would never be able to see the glamour effects through cameras.
Oh, cyber eyes count as eyes.
But if you looked at like surveillance footage with Diender in it, you
Or you,
wouldn't
like-
find
or you,
green
like-
tree girl.
Yeah, or if you recorded an image through the eyes, it would be not green.
It'd be
Wait, what wouldn't it be
human
green?
looking. Diender is not green if you take a picture of her.
But you don't know
What
that
the
yet, so
fuck?
shh.
Shh, glamour. That's how the
Okay.
glamour works. Um,
All right. So, Cecile, you get picked up by a grid guide. Boxer and Nightingale are taking Nightingale's
Not
vehicle.
taking a good guide since Nightingale wants to lay low with the van.
Okay.
Yeah, grid guide moment.
oversized grid guide.
She has taken the form of a dog.
We're
Okay.
going to wonder why Boxer keeps bringing her dog everywhere.
Mark,
My service animal.
it's
We're
my
in-
emotional support animal. It's a legitimate classification of support animal.
Diender, you get to the area of the mime first, obviously. You're about, let's say, half an hour early. Sound about right?
Dinder would probably be there at least 45 minutes early.
And any special actions that you're doing there? Where are you parking, or how are you approaching?
I think she like in her like casing of the area earlier, she figured out a place that was close enough to the main entrance to like get there quickly, but was out of line of sight of the main entrance.
Okay.
So like an alley nearby.
Yep.
Maybe a building or two over.
Saturday night, the entire area is packed. There's heavy traffic. There is the sidewalks and foot areas are inundated with club goers and restaurant goers and late shoppers and, just people walking around. This area of Renton's an absolute hive of nightlife at the moment. Even in the alleyways and back streets, there's significant foot traffic.
I think on the way over, Diender would probably ask Ice in every language he knows if he every language she knows if he speaks any of them.
Which languages does she know?
Cantonese, Japanese, and Spirithill.
All right. Well, let's remind myself what Ice knows. Where is Ice? Ice is under NPC.
And don't forget about real-time machine translation.
Who does that? I don't think either Diender or Ice do that. Interesting. Ice has no language skills.
Ice
None.
has no language skills.
Nope. I probably need to go look at his 5e character sheet because that's where. Well, let's not get bogged down in that. You are able to ascertain that Ice knows English and French and potentially a smattering of other odd languages, but not Japanese or anything or Spirithial.
I doubted he would have spoken Spirithial.
And he is very short and not forthcoming in his answers either.
I think she just spends the rest of the time talking at him, kind of just like recounting stories of what she's done, like way in the past, nothing recent.
Yeah, I think that's probably where you get the most connection with Ice is the distant history type stuff. The more recent stuff sort of doesn't seem to really get any reaction or interest from him. If you
Like, I
start
think
talking about the 2050s, he gets interested.
I think in equivalence with Ice, Diandre's 2050s were probably incredibly boring. Like, she had a few cases, cleaned up probably a go or two, but nothing like Shadowrunner or anything.
So you guys pull up and park in the spot that you had found earlier. And like I said, this area is just crowded with people and revelers. Make me another perception check, please.
At least on my end, Boxer has a little bit of echo for everyone. I don't know if that's fixed. Let's see. I think it is. Oh well. Perception 4. Nope, it's back.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of echo.
Who's making the perception check?
Me.
Dinder's making a perception check as she pulls into her chosen parking spot at the mime.
Okay.
Am I echoing, or I hear myself echoing, but I'm not sure where the echo is.
I can
It's
also hear
coming
mine.
from Cat, from her, Valerie, Boxer.
Okay.
Is she with us?
I'm here.
Hi.
Perception 4 hits. Nice. You go past the mime, and you're sort of surreptitiously glancing around, using the shade on your the visor on your helmet to cover your glances. You get the distinct impression that the Italiano across the street from the mime and the mime's security forces are potentially beefing, not overtly at the moment, but you catch that sort of vibe from them. And you also see that there's a line down the block of people waiting to get into the mime. And you see that the security detail, different group of people than you saw this morning when you were there, but you see the security detail. They are 8 deep. 4 of them are orcs. They all look pretty heavy and intimidating. And as you pass, you notice that certain select people are going right in rather than waiting in line. You also notice that there's a valet service that is, taking people's cars. So yeah, this is a happening place. Are Boxer and Grace and Cecile attempting to show up as early as Dinder?
About as early, yeah.
Okay.
Not unless Nightingale insists.
Nightingale does not have a conception of always having to arrive early for things, unlike humans, many humans, them and their unhealthy work culture.
All right, so Cecile pulls up as well in the grid guide and gets out and makes a perception check.
Perception? Okay. 1.
You're not quite as perceptive as Diender was as she passed through here. As you get out of the grid guide, you do obviously observe the giant line of people waiting to get in to the mime, and you see that there is an exceptional amount of security in front of the mime. So you recognize it from your matrix search, and that's all that you sort of notice about the place.
Cecile starts walking towards the door with Prokop's symbol on her comlink.
Okay. Diender and Ice. So when you parked Diender, Ice sort of made an appreciative comment on the fact that you had chosen a good location and says something to the effect of, well, this might go okay after all.
I think in like almost a snide way, she says back, might?
He grins. All right, shall we?
I assume you're my ticket in, so let's go.
All right. You see Cecile pull up in a grid guide and walk towards the main entrance. And Cecile, as you walk forward, you see the security eyeing you as you approach, probably anticipating. Actually, how are you dressed?
The same as she was. She hasn't had the opportunity to change her clothes yet.
So she is still not had a chance to. She's not wearing any fancy
No, not yet.
club gear. All right, so you're approaching. You see them sort of, one or two of them get into a posture like, they're not overtly signaling that they're going to intercept you, but you can sort of get the impression that they're like, oh boy, here we go. And one of them sort of holds out his hand as if to stop you, and you show him you flash him the symbol, the seal, and he looks over at one of the other orcs over there and sort of makes a head motion, and then he gives you sort of the thumbs over his shoulder, going as if, you go in. And,
Cecile walks in.
Yep. To the extreme displeasure and grumbling of some of the young people waiting in line right at the door.
Cecile is not dressed for this environment.
Nope. There's no way you should have gotten in. Everybody else standing out there is dressed to the nines for nightlife.
If they think Cecile shouldn't have gotten there, wait until the cop-looking motherfucker walks up.
Yep. Something similar happens when you guys approach. when Diender and Ice approach. One of the orcs steps out to sort of intercept you. And here's the thing. Ice doesn't have a comm link on him. So he looks at you as if to say, all right, get us in.
I think Diandre looks back at him not with like surprise, but almost like kind of I expected you to do this a look that says that, and then kind of fiddles with her comm link for a second, and then pulls up the symbol.
And the guy nods again and sort of shrugs at one of the other orcs and motions you to enter. And at this point, some of the people in line are starting to lose it, and the orcs are just sort of amused by this. Diander and Cecile, as you enter the Murdered Mime, you are just hammered by a wave of music. Orcsploitation rock is playing at ear-splitting volume, and the decor is all black and white and minimalist. There's a massive black and white checkered dance floor that you actually can't really see the dance floor itself because there's just this heaving mass of meta humanity. And are you doing anything in AR, Cecile?
Oh, always.
All right. Are you accepting the AR invitation of the club? All right. So you're getting the full-on AR bombardment, which makes the interior of the club even more bombastic, with just all sorts of laser holographics, projecting mimes of all shapes and sizes. The mimes are like walking up the walls as if the walls were the floor, and they're murdering each other in all sorts of stylized and imaginative ways. And the place is just a cacophony of noise and lights and smells, and it's intense. And both you and Diander, as you walk in, are just struck by this and wondering, probably both having exactly the same thought of how the frag are we going to find the Mr. Johnson in here, and how are we going to have any kind of meeting? The Topps Company, Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sounds, audio, video, and/or any proprietary material used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company, Inc. has granted permission to the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast to use such names, logos, artwork, marks, and/or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast in any official capacity whatsoever. The music for the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast was written and performed by Trace Mineral. The Hard Knocks Sorority podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons License 4.0, meaning you are welcome to use the material as long as you give us credit.